Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partners TV show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer, and I love helping early stage entrepreneurs launch, brand, and build their businesses because, hey, new businesses don't come with instructions, right? And every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm right here on Google Plus sharing the and delicious advice for entrepreneurial adventurers. And this is delicious conversations with experienced entrepreneurs, all sharing their best advice to help you and your business grow. And they don't just share everything that worked, they share what didn't work, the woohoos and the rut-rows. So it's a wonderful time. And I'm so thrilled you're joining us today. Hey, have you ever been at a great event, like one of those 2 or 3 day events that got you really fired up, or maybe you got off a great coaching call, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got all these great ideas that I want to implement. I've got this product, I've got this package, and then nothing happened, right? You may even have pulled everything together, but you haven't hit the start button, so to speak. Well, today we have the business catalyst herself, Stephanie Calahan, sharing why that happens. And she calls them visibility blocks. So I'm so thrilled to have her here today. You, my gorgeous glowing goddess, please say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here today.
We're so thrilled you're here, too, to help us because so often, I know, I'm waving here, I've had great ideas, and then I'd like scratching my head, like, why didn't I make that work? What's stopping me? I don't understand. And I know that you have so many wonderful ideas as to why or how that can happen. But first, I love hearing an entrepreneur's journey. I love learning from other entrepreneurs as well, and I know the audience, the listeners do too. So please, Stephanie, share with us, where were you? How did it happen that you were called to be an adventurer, an entrepreneurial adventurer?
You know, I think I have always had some kind of entrepreneurial spirit in me because even when I was 10 years old, I had started a business. It was a very seasonal business because it was selling Christmas cards. You know, nowadays we can go online and create whatever we want and send them automatically. But back then, really beautifully foil engraved Christmas cards were the thing that people sent. And I had this really, 4-inch thick sales binder that I would hust onto my bike and drive all over the neighborhood selling Christmas cards in June and July so that I could get my orders in, so that I could deliver them in time for people to get their Christmas cards. And I did that because I wanted to have money to buy Christmas gifts for my family. So that was my driver back then. And I've done a number of things like that. When I was in college, I started a resume writing business and learned to type really, really fast because the faster I typed, the more money I made because I charged per page at the time. And then, I went into the corporate space for a very long time, and I was a corporate consultant, and I managed a team of about anywhere from 250 to 300 people at a time, and we consulted Fortune 50 to Fortune 100 companies. And Ande, I honestly thought that I would retire from that job. And I was kind of an intrapreneur then. Outside of the job that they actually paid me for, we started a project management learning program, we started a people coaching program, we started a diversity and inclusion program. So there were a number of things that I did entrepreneurially, even though I was in the corporate space.
Right.
So shortly after my son was born, the company went public. And in that company going public, the corporate culture changed significantly, so much so that I went from a job that I thought I would retire from to a job that was so toxic I was getting sick, almost physically sick, almost every day.
Wow.
And there was one night where I was up, like I said, my son had just been born at about the same time they went public. And I was up in the middle of the night doing, one of those midnight feedings and kind of rocking him back and forth and just thinking about what kinds of things do I want to teach him, what's he going to grow up to be, all those things that new parents think about. And I had this, what I call a blinding flash of the obvious, where I realized that my son was going to be watching what I did more than what I said. And in that blinding flash of the obvious, I also realized that I'd be teaching him to sell himself if I stayed in my current job, because as it was, the only reason that I was still there, benefits were out of this world. I mean, it was a hefty six-figure income. The benefits were outrageous to the extent that it cost us $10 to have him, my son. So I had those corporate handcuffs.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I really realized that was really significant for us. And fortunately, I have an amazingly supportive husband. I went and had a conversation with him, and Andy, literally 4 months later, I had left my job, he had left his job. We had sold our home and moved 2.5 hours south so that I could start my thing.
Wow. I mean, first of all, I have to say, was there ever any moss growing on this goddess? I don't think so. Okay. I mean, I think I have to go take a nap when I think of all she did before she even graduated from college. But it's also been a great stroll down memory lane, the Christmas cards, doing the resume writing because you could type so fast. It's a great, I love that. But I really love that you had the courage, Stephanie, to say, wow, my son is going to watch me by what I do, not what I say. And that's a big step, also coupled with the self-awareness that you had to have to realize that the environment was toxic and it was going to kill you if you stayed on any longer. And a lot of people numb themselves out, whether it's something simple like TV or online gaming or substance abuse, rather than take the chance and have the courage to do what you did to leave the golden handcuffs, because that's what they are, when you're getting your health insurance paid for and all those nice little perks and benefits. So thank you for having the courage to do that. What do you think it was, though, that you relied on as far as an ingredient for who you are that helped you and your husband to sell, move, and basically start over or reinvent yourselves?
I'm one of those people, Andy, that I may take some time to make a decision, but once the decision is really obvious, I move forward with lightning speed. And so once I knew my husband was on board, and actually that was, there was something moving us much more than us, Andy. Things came together for us so smoothly. We both agreed that we should do something. We found a realtor easily. We sold our house in 6 days with multiple offers at a time when the industry was starting to tank. It was just one of those things where everything kind of lined up for us to say we really shouldn't have any doubts about this. Mm-hmm. And we looked to each other to have the strength that we needed to continue that process, as friends and family were saying, "Are you nuts? You had a sure thing." I mean, everybody looking at what I was doing from the outside in saw a lot of glamour. I traveled a lot. I had this good pay. I worked with great clients. I had a big team, prestigious job. And they're like, "You're going to go do that to risk what? And what are you going to do? And people are going to pay for that?" All those questions. And really, I was just very, very fortunate that I had a husband that has always had my back. Yeah. And I've had his, and every little bump along the road we recognize as a bump along the road rather than a big mountain.
Right, and also you were seen as the growth opportunity that every entrepreneurial adventure is. It's an experiment. There's no guarantee, and the learning, the deep growth, and the deeper relationship you have with yourself and with your partner in life, husband, wife. It's remarkable how you grow as humans and individuals and spiritual beings as well. So what did you launch when you came home, when you moved south and started your first gig?
So the first business that I launched was a professional organizing business, because when I sat at my desk in that corporate space, they say, build a business around something that you do well and that you like to do. And there is a very strong analytical side of me. One of my degrees is in computer science, and organizing was something that just comes really naturally for me. I see space differently than other people do, and how to use space differently than other people. And so I thought, organizing, that's what I can do. That business, as it was originally defined, didn't last very long, because I found that I got bored really easy doing that work that was so easy too. Mm-hmm. And so my business has continued to change and morph over the years, but that was where it first started.
Wow. And so now you share with folks what you do now as far as working with folks.
Sure. I work with the purpose-driven entrepreneurs, those world changers. Though they may not view themselves as world changers just yet, those people that know that there's something bigger that they're supposed to do. And we help them embrace their brilliance, leverage their business, and get their message out with power, ease, and joy. It should be fun. And
Right.
we do that so that they can have a powerfully positive difference on the world with the work that they do, exponentially up-level their profits, and boldly build a business around who they are. Because so many of us, listen to those gurus that are out there that say, here, buy this business in a box, or buy this 12-point system, and you're going to have everything you need. But what a lot of people are coming to the realization of is that maybe that 12-point system, maybe 7 of the points kind of fit who they are, but the others don't.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is help you figure out what's actually going to work for you, who you are, and how you think. And then we actually put it all into place, too.
See, and now that you know that she moves at the speed of light, get ready. So, because when you sign up with Stephanie, you're going to move too. She has this wonderful way, and this is what I really appreciate about her. She has this wonderful way to see who you are and how you are in the world and your business, and pull a lot of those parts and pieces together for you so that you have the transformation that you need in your head and in your heart, because you got to have that wonderful heart-centered why with your business in order for your business to really succeed. It's not about padding your wallet. It's really about feeding your soul. Right, Stephanie?
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned head and heart, because I like to say I work at the intersection of head and heart. I'm equally right-brained and left-brained when you do all those tests. And so for a really long time, I tried, I listened to everybody that said, Stephanie, you need to niche, and you need to be really specific on the type of work that you do. And that was where the organizing came from. But it was so left-brained and so analytical that the right side of me was like, hello, where are you? Where'd you go? And what I do now is really honor both sides of me, and that allows me to honor all the sides of the people that I work with. And we work both with the analytical, strategical, tactical sides of their business, but then also that internal mindset side too. And what I found is that everybody, when you leap into a new level of your business, there's always some mindset stuff, there's always some heart stuff that comes up that we can work through and then go back to the strategic and tactics. So it's a combination of the two.
Absolutely. And for an example, 1 minute Stephanie will help you shift your perception about something, or she'll give you a great technological tip. One of my favorites that you do, Stephanie, is if you click on Stephanie's link on her profile on Twitter, it takes you to a special page on her website saying, hey, I'm so glad you found me on Twitter, and now you're connecting here at my website. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I thought, right. How great is that? I felt so personalized. I felt, wow, she knows where I'm coming from, and she's saying howdy do. That's a beautiful thing that you do, Stephanie.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
And these are just some of the amazing pieces of advice I have found by watching Stephanie and connecting with her over the last few years on all the platforms. And I know that you're all just getting some of the best advice along with me, and I am so thrilled to have Stephanie here on the Possibility Partners TV show. I got to say hello to the audience because we're having a great group here. They're having some great conversations on the side, but I want to bring up a few comments and just say hello. For example, I agree, Danielle Miller. Test and try, test and try. It's a wonderful way to be as an entrepreneur because you really get that this is an experiment and it's okay. It's not about success and failure. It's about finding what you need to know. Waving howdy to Dave Moore, who says, BFO, blinding flash of the obvious. And, sometimes that's exactly what happens. It's like, whoa, like, how did I miss that? That's so brilliant. And then here's seriously, your sister from a different mother. and I can speak personally to this, the oh so divine Lainey Sullivan, who moves so quickly and is so organized and so wonderful. She says, Stephanie Calahan is my kind of woman. Yes, she moves at lightning speed too. Oh, yeah. And she's a tool user too, Lainey. Lainey's going to be on the show next week, everybody. And we've got another great group of folks here. We've got Sean Mahan, we've got Carmen Mandich, we've got Tanya Lemire, and I'm not getting everybody. I think so. Nicole. So hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Possibility Partners TV show. So let's talk about those success saboteurs. And we all know what they are. They're the things that stop us and we're not sure why, or sometimes we don't even see them. And they keep us from moving our business forward to something. It can be so simple, right, Stephanie?
Yes,
some of the things
really
that
can.
keep us from getting really wonderful points and messages and packages and programs out, because we're here to serve the world. So let's talk about this, Stephanie. First of all, identify what a visibility block is.
Sure. Visibility block is simply a belief that you know or unknowingly have in your subconscious that's limiting your ability to get more visible. Now, some people will call these success saboteurs. Some people call them the negative chatter in our heads, and it can be that, but it can be a lot more than that as well. But bottom line, we know that we need to get our message out in order for people to even know that we're here and that we can serve them. And there's these things that go on between our ears, underneath the surface, that keep us from really doing that to the best of our ability and really letting our brilliance shine.
And I know in your own case, you had a particular favorite, which is a topic I often speak about, around the area of perfectionism. Would you call that a visibility block?
How about I go through? I have a list of them that I could go through.
Let's see. Do it.
Yeah, let's see if anybody that's watching here or on the replay, if any of these sound familiar to you at all. So I'm going to go through them really fast because it's a pretty long list. So, fear of success, camera shy, procrastination, perfectionism, overwhelmed with how to start, that imposter syndrome. This has already been done concerns. Miscellaneous distractions that all of a sudden just happen to pop up when you're trying to do something. Saying you don't have time, or I can't say I'm the only one that knows how to do this. Or maybe you all of a sudden start experiencing foggy thinking where it's difficult for you to brainstorm on something. Or here's one of my favorites. I just need to lose that last 15 pounds before I do whatever.
Right.
Or worrying about what if nobody's interested in this, giving up easily, overwhelmed with technology, and so on and so forth. So I'm sure that one or two of those sounds familiar to those of us that are watching the show.
Absolutely, those are some serious blocks that can really. And I also like the polite girl syndrome. That's a hashtag.
Oh yeah.
You've been raised to be proper. And proper does not mean talking about yourself, what you do, or really putting yourself out in a way that causes wonderful engagement and relationship building. You might be termed a pushy broad. Oh, no. And that can actually stop you, right, Stephanie?
Well, it absolutely can. And, certain words and the way that we're raised can also add to visibility blocks. So, for example, for a very long time, I was described as a powerful woman. And I was like, no, powerful, oh, yuck. That word had so many negative connotations to me just from things that I had heard growing up. And in the corporate world, a powerful woman is, that's like a cuss word. And so I had a long time with my own visibility blocks of trying not to be powerful. Trying to downplay myself, trying to be more feminine, whatever that meant. And what that really did for me was it took me out of my own authenticity.
Yeah.
And people felt that disconnect. And that's what happens when we have visibility blocks, is we are pulled out of our authenticity, out of who we really are. And people feel that, and something's not quite right. So even if you are getting out there and doing video and on social media and speaking, if you have these visibility blocks, you're still not fully aligned with what you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be and your brilliance. And people feel that and kind of go, what she's saying is great, but something's not quite right.
Wow. So what do we do? Because I have plenty of those visibility blocks that prevent me, and especially if you're just launching a business, you have so much uncertainty anyway, or if you're transitioning into a new industry and you really don't have a real strong, firm, feeling about what you're doing. How do we start to dissolve, own, whatever it is we do with visibility blocks?
So I named a slew of different visibility blocks, and there's different techniques for each one. But the first step is to figure out which one is the strongest for you. And you can do that by asking yourself this question. What's the one thing that I'm avoiding doing right now that if I did it, I know would move my business forward? And if you ask yourself that question, so as I asked it, and I'll ask it one more time so you can really click into it and answer it for yourself. What's the one thing that I'm avoiding doing now that I know if I did it would move my business forward? And once you've identified what that is, then you start looking at all those things that you're telling yourself, the stories that you tell yourself of why you're not doing it, and those are the first visibility blocks that you want to start working on. And some of our visibility blocks, once we identify them, they're kind of poof gone. I mean, some of them are really just that simple. Others,
wait a minute, really? It can be that poof simple?
So, can I give you an example of one of mine?
Yeah.
All right. So, one of the things that I didn't share that's another business lesson, if you will, is when I first started my business, I was still addicted to working. I was still a workaholic by nature from my corporate days. And so the business structure that I put in place at the time was very workaholic, non-take care of Stephanie focused. And so much so that in 2009, I was told I wouldn't see 2010. I got very, very ill.
Oh
now,
my
fortunately for me, I found some of those world changers because doctors weren't figuring it out. They were just dosing me up with a bunch of meds. But I found some of those world changers, and they helped me be here today. Quite literally, they're my angels here on earth. But some of the things that were wrong with me, I wanted to be able to shout from the rooftops and tell anybody that could hear, because I know there were other women that were struggling with the same thing. So I had said, I'm going to share this as much as possible. Well, I got that opportunity last November. I was asked by a reporter to share my story, and I got on the phone with the reporter, and I was talking up a storm, and I was sharing all kinds of information. She's like, oh, Stephanie, you're so quotable. And I'm like, yes, this story's going to be shared. And then she asked me the magic question of, Stephanie, if my editor goes with this story, are you willing to do a photo shoot? And then a visibility block immediately popped up, because I'm like, photo shoot? Now, here's the funny thing about visibility blocks, and the reason that I shared this particular story. Ever since I started my business, I've been doing PR, radio, media, newspapers, magazines, TV even, and I've done it a lot to grow my business. So when that visibility block popped up about still photos, the first thought was, well, why in the world is this bothering me? That makes no sense. I've done all kinds of other stuff. But I had to realize a few things about this particular visibility block. One, I had some physical body issues that I needed to work through because they wanted to do a full body shot, and any photos that I had ever shared up to that point were the head and shoulders shots. So I had to work through that. And then there was a control issue going on because for a number of years, if people took pictures of me, I wanted to look at the display and delete all of them I didn't like. And if you do a magazine shoot, they're not exactly going to let you do that.
Right.
And then I was letting, I stalled for a while. And I finally said, you know what, Stephanie? I want my vision to be more powerful than my fear. And I made a choice in that very conversation with the reporter of yes. If your editor says yes, so I still had the safety net of the editor might say no. If the editor says yes, I'll do the photo shoot. Well, she wrote me back 4 days later and said, Stephanie, the photo shoot needs to be done in 2 weeks. We'll have a stylist, a makeup and hair person, and a photographer at your house. What date do you want them there? I'm like, then it was real.
Yeah, very real. I personally, I love that they're coming with the hairstylist and the makeup people. Woo! That would be nirvana.
And it was such a fun experience when everything was said and done. They were at my house for about 5 hours, and I learned so much about the fashion industry and magazine production. They took well over 500 pictures. I was not allowed to see a one of them. Mm-hmm. They had a very specific look that they were looking for, so they had sent a bunch of requirements ahead of time. But I, first of all, decided that my vision and my why was more important than my fear. And that was the first thing I did with that block. Then the second thing I did was I made it as public as absolutely possible so that I couldn't back out. I used my friends and family. I used social media. I can't believe I'm doing this. And it ended up being such a wonderful experience. Everybody they sent to my house were just really fantastic people. I learned a lot. I ended up on the cover of the magazine in a really tiny spot, but I shared a cover with Dr. Oz.
Nice.
So it ended up being a really good thing.
Yeah,
and that was one of the ways that I worked through that particular visibility block.
Right. And sometimes, we may not be ready to address a visibility block just yet. Sometimes we know it's there. We may have to be with it. We may need to get some coaching around it. And, don't ever force yourself to do something if you don't feel like you're being pulled to do it. And Stephanie was definitely feeling being pulled to do this photo shoot and really address her visibility block. And I bring that up because I don't want you jumping out, the airplane too soon if you're not ready. And life will show you, right, Stephanie? Life will show you when you're being pulled versus feeling like someone's pushing you in a way that isn't in alignment with when you're ready.
So for me, there's two different tests that you can have. Are you having resistance or are you having resentment? And those are two really important R words. Resistance is what comes up when a visibility block shows its, gremlin-y face. And sometimes pushing through the resistance part of it is a really healthy thing to do. However, I also want you to do a resentment test. If I did this, would I feel really bad about it? Do I have this yucky feeling in my stomach of resentment of I'm being forced to do something? Yeah. If you have any resentment, and I tell you, I use this resentment test from everything to selecting what clients I work with to the pricing that I offer. If there's any resentment in place, then that's something that you want to take a serious look at before you push your way through. Yeah. I don't believe in push. I do believe in pull. And sometimes we can do that on our own. Sometimes we need a coach that can help us kind of change our perspective on things and see them in a different way so that we can work through the visibility blocks.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember Deborah Crosby was on a few weeks back, and in our Afterglow chat after the show, she was saying, "So Ande, you ready to speak?" And I was like, heck no. I had just been at an event where the speakers were phenomenal, and I thought, I could never do that. I don't think I could. I can't even see myself doing that. Well, maybe I could see myself. But, I do know the day will come, and I'll be on a stage speaking or in front of a room speaking. But today, no way. And I'll definitely be working with someone on that. Stephanie, let me just bring up a few more comments from our wonderful group today, sharing such great things. Here's Dave Moore again. It's all about action, moving with speed, determination, and just doing it. Don't get caught up in the how. Just be certain you will do it, and the how will show itself to you.
Yes, yes.
Thanks for that, Dave. And now I'm just going to put the screen on Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. And do you agree with that?
I do, absolutely. Okay. I call that inspired action. That the hows will reveal themselves.
Awesome. And then Tanya says, I used to do my friend's art projects in exchange. She would type my papers, so type is still, some things never change, still designing. I loved that, bartering away with our friends. That's so great. And one more here, because I thought Carmen's comment was wonderful. If you believe you will fail, you will. If you believe you will succeed, you will. The key word is believe. And, I know, Stephanie, you're all about the mindset as well, right, with our visibility blocks?
Yeah, we spend so much time looking at our to-do lists. And what I encourage my clients to do is to really shift that thinking and start focusing on who they're going to be in their day. And I say a be with a capital B, Because when we start thinking about who we want to be, that believing is in there too. Right? And the way that you look at the world changes when you look at it through the lens of who you want to be. So that fear of failure or fear of success. Maybe one of our visibility blocks is going to networking events. I can tell you that there was one point in time in business that I would rather had a root canal to go to network events. I didn't like them at all. And so there's two ways you can look at that. You can look at it through the lens of fear, or you could look at it through the lens of giving and connection and serving. And once I looked at it through the lens of connecting and serving and giving and loving, then I walked into networking rooms very, very differently, because I would walk into networking rooms and I would look for the people that looked as uncomfortable as I felt. And then I would go reach out to them and I'd start a conversation. And I have built some of the best one-on-one relationships just using that one technique. And I changed who I was being, who I chose to carry myself as I walked into that room, and all of a sudden that visibility block had a whole different definition, and I could walk right through it.
Wow, that's a really amazing and very important point that Stephanie just mentioned, which is when you go and show up at a place that you might feel really self-conscious and what am I going to say, and I'm an introvert, and oh my gosh, you know, there's all these visibility blocks happening. If you really position yourself as someone who's there to serve, and you start looking at people in a different way, and it takes the pressure off you, it takes the lens off of you, and all of a sudden it becomes about how may I be here to help. And a lot of times that can be just a technique that we need to help us get over any fear that we have. So Stephanie, do visibility blocks disappear for forever, or do they keep cropping up and we need to keep working with them?
So I'll say that you can get rid of different layers of visibility blocks forever. But I've found that through talking with my clients, through talking with my peers, through networking with 6, 7, and actually 8-figure business owners, that they crop up all the time. Because every time we take ourselves to the next level, there's new layers to be worked through. So rather than looking at it from the standpoint of something to check off your to-do list, okay, I'm going to clear these blocks and then I'm all good, I encourage you to look at yourself with no judgment and just observation, kind of like a scientist would look at an experiment and just observe the results. And you can observe, how am I responding to this particular situation, and is that the response I want to have? And that will help you, 1, identify the blocks that you have, and then 2, get through them a lot faster, because what you resist persists, right? So as we resist it over and over again, no, I don't want to, it'll keep coming up in our lives. Yeah. And so if you can observe it without judgment, that's a really great start to being able to work through the blocks that you have.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, as we begin to wrap the show up, I first need to send out my mwahs to those who swung by and said they couldn't make it. And, of course, that includes Deborah Oakland and Deborah Crosby and Nazim and Tracy Baker and Elaine and Christopher Pearsall and Gail Harris and many of you, thank you. And for those of you who showed up, of course, I've got a big mwah and hug for you. Stephanie, share with folks how they can work with you and where they can find you.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Well, if you go to stephaniecalahan.com, and it's Calahan with 1 L, so it's a little different, but if you go to stephaniecalahan.com, you'll actually see all the different social media sites that I'm on, and I'm on a slew of them, and I think Ande added it to the event as well. Yeah. Whether we work together or not, I'd love to connect, because I love meeting new people and I love connecting people to resources. And if you are interested in working together, then it's really as simple as clicking the contact button on my website and letting me know you're interested in having a conversation. I send out an intake form. A lot of people tell me they have breakthroughs just doing the intake form, and we have a conversation and decide, does it make sense? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm not a heavy salesperson. I want to find something that serves in a really positive way.
Well, I'm in love. I don't know about you. Watching, but it's like, wow, could it get any better than working with Stephanie Calahan? Visit Stephanie's website, Stephanie Calahan. That's with 1 A, CALAHAN.com. she welcomes you with an open heart, whether you find her on Twitter, Instagram, Google+, LinkedIn, Facebook. It doesn't matter. This is a woman who has such deep compassion, and I hope you all have a chance to sign up with her and do some form of work with her. For those of you who are here live, I'll be posting the link to the green room. I'd love to see you. I know Stephanie would love to see you for the Afterglow chat party. So much fun. Oh my gosh. Next week, oh boy, we've got the growth strategist goddess herself, Lainey Sullivan, joining us, and she's going to help you understand you've got to use your market research skills to find your ideal client. We do a great job at identifying who our ideal client is, but many of my clients go, well, I don't know where to find them. Well, Lainey Sullivan is going to have great techniques next Tuesday, 1 p.m. That's November 18th. I hope we see you then. For those of you, again, thank you for watching. Please visit AndeLyons.com and download my free 7 essential strategies for early stage entrepreneurs. These are my favorite tips for you so that you and your business can grow successfully. I love seeing you on all the platforms. Please reach out. You know I'm at Twitter often, at Ande Lyons, and here on Google+. I love to hear from you, connect with you on social media, and find out what makes your heart sing. And once again, let's just do a final thanks, Stephanie.
Mwah!
Yay! And for all you entrepreneurs, thank you for having the courage for realizing your dreams and pursuing your entrepreneurial adventure. I am so in awe and wonder of you, and I'll see you next week. Mwah!